to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
7 principles for sales leaders. I'd love to have you talk through them.
Okay, so every farmer approaches the growing year and says, regardless of what they're growing, how many harvest seasons they have. So the guy in Wisconsin that's just growing corn, down to the guy in Louisiana that's growing a small garden that's going to be able to get 3 or 4 harvests out of it, knows that the first thing they have to do is plan the year. What's my acreage? How do I assign every tillable acre to a certain plot? What's the pricing? There's this whole science behind what are my inputs, what are the expected outputs, and oh, by the way, it might be too hot, too cold, too much rain, not enough rain. What are my contingency plans?
Mm-hmm.
Planning. The second thing they'd have to do is position. It's not enough to have a good plan if your team doesn't understand what the end goal is, how we're going to get there, why it's important.
Mm-hmm.
It won't matter. So in the position chapter, we talk about mission, vision, then plan. It's not enough to just go put a plan in front of your people and say, we're doing 20 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
No. What's the bigger cause? What's at stake if we don't? What's in it for me? Now show me the plan.
Mm.
And
do you feel like that one, the position one, do you feel like that one gets overlooked a lot?
It's fluff. It gets ignored.
Okay.
It's
like we're going to have revenue goals, get after it, and if people don't really understand why, they're going to do some work, but you don't really have their heart, and that's just going to end poorly.
So it's like this, right? You want to lose weight. If you don't have some compelling reason to lose weight,
mm-hmm.
going and stepping on the scale every day or going to the gym and tracking your calories, what's the freaking point, man?
Yeah, it's a great
Why
analogy.
are you doing this?
Yeah.
What's in it for you?
Yeah.
So that's why I think you can't tell, a trainer can't go tell his trainee that we're going to the gym, we're doing these things, I need to measure your chest every third day. Like, none of that matters if you can't anchor it into, okay, how is your life better as a result of going through all this hell?
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's
positioning covers that. Yeah. Okay.
And then prepare. So oftentimes, especially now, everybody's having to write a new plan, reposition the team, but then that requires some skilling. So training, developing your people, preparing also looks like getting the right people that you need. Sometimes doubling the size of the business requires significant investments in technology and new people, different types of people. So we cover that in the prepare chapter. And then plant, which is where everybody really wants to get to, is putting seeds in the ground.
Yeah.
And, the thing that I say about planting that I think is different, this is an executive's take on planting. So it's not to say, well, I got a team and they should be prospecting. It says, hey, buddy, everybody prospects, including you.
Mm.
So what role are you going to play in prospecting? And then before we get to the harvest, everyone thinks that you just put seeds in the ground, you plant, and then there's a harvest. Well, there's this whole step in between called tending, which is making sure that the seeds you put in the ground don't get compacted, get enough water, get enough sunlight. So the harvest, everybody expects a harvest, but nobody wants to do the work of tending to it.
Yeah, that is a big point. And there's a lot of work in the farming analogy. There's a lot, if you think about it, man, there is so much time and work put into that tending process. I mean, it's planting is, you run through the field one time and it's planted. Harvesting, same thing, but tending is week after week. Did a lot of tending for my mom in our big old garden when I was a kid and hated it.
Yeah.
But it was necessary work.
So that you tend, so that you get the harvest. Then the harvest is a pretty straightforward principle. One of the things that I like about what I talk about in the book is this harvesting with dignity. And it really is meant for the seller. It's probably one of the few segments of the book that the seller can get something out of. Because I'm in healthcare, I get exposed to a lot of different types of healthcare language and practice. There's this whole concept in healthcare called motivational interviewing, and it's what clinicians use to get a patient to change their behavior. So if you have a diabetic patient, you can manage their insulin, but if you don't get them to change what they put in their body, they're going to die. You can tell an addict all the reasons why she should stop putting a needle in her arm, but until you can find one reason why she would, it doesn't matter. So what clinicians are really good at doing in motivational interviewing is finding that the premise is that any reason that you already have to do something is so much stronger than any reason that I could give you. So what I do is we walk through 7 to 8 different types of responses to let you know that you're actually not listening to the customer, that you're actually more asserting your own agenda versus trying to find some reason why they would want to work with you. So it's really tactical about listening and finding a way to harvest that makes the customer feel really good about working with you.
Yes. Yeah, I noticed that. And I'd like to touch on some of those responses too. So we're at harvest. I was going to ask you about, well, you mentioned that it sounds like this highly researched scientific interview process or something that helps people kind of come to their own conclusions or discover their own motivations and feel like it was their own idea.
Yeah. Motivational interviewing.
Oh, okay. How what is this and how long has that been going on?
It's been going on. I mean, it's like I said, clinicians use it every day, and it's go ahead.
It's a way of like asking somewhat leading questions, or what does this look like in real life?
So let me give you a real life example. So I listen back when I was at Foundations Recovery Network and we're selling addiction treatment. I listen to calls, people calling in. Nobody calls in and says, I have a drinking problem. They say, I'm calling because my wife's going to leave me. I'm calling because I failed a drug test and I'm going to lose my job. I'm calling because I'm spending so much money on this that I can't even pay my bills. So they have my wife's going to leave me problem, I'm going to lose my job problem, or I'm going to lose my house problem. So if we were to say, hey man, you're an alcoholic. No. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because this one time I had too much to drink and I showed up to work. So we have to start with what they're willing to accept.
I see, yeah.
And so the way that translates to the sales world is so many times we see in the customer what our problem, what the problem is how we solve that problem. We don't do a good enough job of meeting them where they are and saying, oh, you have this problem. Well, what if I could help you solve that problem? We try to get them all the way down the spectrum, but we got to start with where they are.
That makes sense. Total sense. And then the last one was restore, which was an interesting one.
Nobody wants that. Nobody has time.
I was just going to say, nobody got time for that.
Nobody got time for that. That's why you see so many folks in sport that burn out. That's why you see so many executives with bad behavior. Look, when you live a lifestyle that is different, and for a lot of the folks that I work with, there's a certain level of celebrity within their industry. Everyone knows it. They're an executive of a company. They're a private equity investor. I mean, most of them command a lot of money. You can't just go get that job. You can't just go be a CEO. And it's really hard to go be a sales leader for one of these big companies. You have to put in your dues. So there's celebrity in the industry. There's celebrity within your company. People know who you are on the org chart. They cater to you. And you get a lifestyle that's not normal. Planes, dinners, expense budget. That will wear on you if you don't check in on your people and check in on yourself from time to time. It's real easy to let things slide. Your own health, your own principles, if you don't take care of yourself. And the whole restore thing is about, look, you're building a career. It's not just one harvest season. You're not a sales leader if you just hit your number 1 year and you fall on your face the next year because you're so daggum tired.
Yeah.
You got to find some time to go back and re-energize yourself and do an inventory and say, hey, how am I doing? Nobody wants to do it.